recordings and whatnot.
Yeah, sure. Well, certainly want to extend a welcome to those of you who have joined. My name is Amy Clemente, and I'm the Internship and Campus Partnership Manager at Augusta University. I have been here at the institution for a little over a year, and when I started, one of my goals was to increase engagement in student internships, and that's a kind of a big, lofty goal, but we're chipping away at it slowly. Part of our effort to do that was to join forces with Parker Dewey, an organization that provides a platform to students who are looking for micro-internships. And we love the idea because it solves several barriers that our students have that we know that they face. Our students are often forced to accept unpaid internships, which creates a financial burden for them. We have students who have transportation challenges and can't get to internships, so they don't do them for that reason. We also have students who need more flexibility. And so when I learned about Parker Dewey and talked to my colleagues at other institutions who use Parker Dewey, we were excited to establish this partnership. So it is a new partnership with us. We have now successfully implemented their information on our website for employers and for students. And my understanding is the purpose of this call is for the team to share a little bit more about what it looks like for the employer, what projects you might post, how that kind of nuts and bolts of that would work. This is, I think, a great opportunity for employers who may not have enough funds to host or pay an intern for a full semester, for a full 15-week semester, but maybe they have some money in their budget to do a short-term project that might be anywhere from 1 to 1 month, 1 week to 1 month. And we wanted to make sure that our local employers were aware that they can post these kinds of opportunities for students that will be specifically for Augusta University students, and I believe beyond. They can recruit students from other universities too, but we would prefer that you recruit ours. So I think that is all I wanted to say and endorse, this company and turn it over to Jeffrey Moss, who is the CEO of Parker Dewey, and let him talk to you a little bit more about his thoughts.
Thanks so much, Amy. Really excited to be here. A couple of very quick housekeeping notes before I go into my spiel. First, we will be sharing the slides afterwards, along with the recording. You'll be getting an email with all of that info over the next day or so. Again, I'll have access to the links, all of the slides, etc. Second thing I'll highlight is feel free to use the chat. The beauty of my ADD is I can kind of keep an eye on that as we go through. We'll certainly try to answer questions or comments that come up in the chat along the way, but I'll also make sure we leave some time for questions at the end. So what we're going to do today is really hit a few things. I'll give you a very quick overview of Parker Dewey and what we do, and we'll talk about the situation right now. We'll talk about what a micro-internship is, because it is a new concept for a lot of organizations. And to be clear, micro-internships are not replacement for summer internships or full-time roles or anything else, but they are a complement. There's something that, as Amy said, can certainly help those organizations that for whatever reason, traditional summer internship doesn't work, but it's also a really, really valuable recruiting tool. It's a way for organizations to engage, assess, and ultimately hire those amazing Augusta students, whether it's for traditional summer internships or full-time roles, and we'll talk more about that. We'll also talk through some actionable strategies that you can put in place right now. We recognize where we are in the traditional campus recruiting season for those involved in that, but also just where we are for those organizations that aren't participating in, again, the normal flow of career fairs and info sessions and on-campus interviews, how you can leverage this resource right now to support you. And as I said, we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. So with that, Parker Dewey is very, very quick background, is about a 10-year-old organization. And 100% of what we've done since our founding in 2015 is help connect organizations, employers, nonprofits, anyone who is hiring early career professionals with these college students and recent grads. We're trying to improve that process to create better outcomes for the employers and the learners. Now, as Amy said, we're super excited about our partnership with Augusta, and we're really excited about the fact that through this platform, it's a great way to deepen that relationship with Augusta, but also to engage others beyond that. And again, this is focused on Augusta, so we're gonna really drive into that. We also have some great data showing the efficacy, which we'll get into. So let's dig in. First, the challenges for anyone on this call involved in campus recruiting. You know these things cold. I'm sure Amy is feeling it as well. Over 70% of college students say the current process doesn't effectively let them demonstrate skills. College students are interested in exploring career paths, but so many of the efforts are really pushed until they are juniors applying for the summer internship or seniors applying for the full-time role, where they often limit themselves artificially based upon major preconceived notions. We're seeing on the company side, the cost of hiring continues to increase. I think according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, it's north of $6,000 for every entry-level hire out of school. And on top of that, nearly 50% leave within the first year. Now, companies should continue to be hiring and can solve for that retention or attrition issue, but the current process isn't really addressing that effectively. What we're doing here is we're going to show you how micro-internships can help you solve that, how you can help engage candidates from Augusta before setting foot on campus. So building the relationships with the students and getting to know them before the career fair, the info session, the classroom visit, not as a replacement, but getting the most out of it. And when you are at those events, how micro-internships can really facilitate your ability to drive meaningful discussions with those students, not only allowing you to sort of get a competitive advantage in showing off your company, but also gaining insights on the student's skills earlier in the process. And after the event, how do you keep those students engaged? Whether it's a junior or senior who's currently looking for that perfect full-time role, or a first or second year student that's still in the exploration phase. It also provides you insights on interest of students. It's not one-click job applications where it's click, click, click. You can see their actual interest and their skills. And you can see it earlier in the process. Again, thinking about those interviews that you're at with someone who has a great resume, and the minute into the interview, you realize it's not the right fit. Or someone who joins the organization for a summer internship or full-time role, and again, in that first week, you or they realize might not be the perfect fit. How can we tease those things out earlier? And by the way, for those employers on the call, maybe you can't be at Augusta this year for whatever reasons. It's either geographically limited, you're an alum or recruiter who's from another part of the country, but you know how amazing those students are. Or even if you're local, but for whatever reason, you just can't be on campus. This becomes a way to engage and build relationships with those individuals who could be great summer interns or full-time hires, or help on a project or two. Everything we just described is experiential recruiting. Think about experiential recruiting as the intersection of employer branding and skills-based hiring. Now, when we talk about employer branding, it's not what kind of swag or t-shirts you have at the career fair, and it's not even just brand awareness. It's helping students understand who your organization is, whether you're Nike, that every student knows, but they may have preconceived notions. They're not thinking about you for roles in AI or data analytics or strategy. Or maybe you're a small or a local business that hasn't been as well known as some of the larger companies. You don't have the size of booth at the career fair or as fancy of swag. How do you engage those students and show them the professional opportunities at your organization? They're hungry to learn. The other side of the Venn is skills-based hiring. For anyone involved in SHRM or HR groups in general, you know this is the hot topic right now. We all know that GPA major, academic pedigree, family connections don't really predict who's the right hire. Skills-based hiring lets you, as an employer, understand the real skills the Augusta students are bringing to the table. Not just the technical skills like can they use Excel or Python, but also core skills like communication and problem solving and attention to detail and coachability, the skills that make the difference in having a great hire. This is experiential recruiting, and it's something that's possible because of internships. So what are these micro internships? As Amy suggested at the beginning, Micro-internships are very, very short-term projects. And again, we'll share the slide, so I'm going to breeze through this relatively quickly. But these are short 10, 15, 20-hour projects that Augusta students can complete on your behalf. They're professional in nature, so it's not make photocopies or fetch coffee. These are the real tasks that you would likely give to a summer intern or a new hire if you had one right now. Think about those we should or I shouldn't tasks that we all have on our plate. We need someone to draft an article, do research on a certain topic. We're going to a conference. We need someone to crunch the list or do a competitive analysis. We all have these projects. The Augusta students are hungry to work on them. Now, what's nice about these projects is they're ones that don't require you to share any sensitive info or access to your systems. And when students are doing micro-internships, they're not your employees or contractors, they're on our books. This makes it really, really easy for organizations of all sizes, and you're getting that double benefit. They provide this great way to, as Amy suggested, get some work done, get work off your plate or a member of your teams, but also to access, engage, and assess individuals who could be future hires. Now, as opposed to talking about it hypothetically, I'll show you a few examples. The first one is a company was very actively looking for a data marketing role. They sent us the job description that you can see on the left. We pulled out the key points and got rid of all of the filler. We actually went and crafted 3 distinct projects that that company could use that would help it both engage and assess. So for instance, doing a competitive analysis. This is something that the company could have a college student do, something that was probably on someone's to-do list that they didn't have time to get done or wasn't the best use of time, but was perfect for a college student. In addition, for that company, it not only again got the work done and provided a valuable opportunity to the student, it also gave them insights into the student's skills. Again, technical skills like market research, but also things like critical thinking. We've seen these roles in more on the floor type positions. Again, this was an organization that was hiring for a factory floor, needed someone with mechanical engineering and mechatronics is the exact term, background. They're again not going to let a college student on a micro internship mess around with a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment. That's highly dangerous, by the way. So they had the students do projects like training manual development or creating best practices. Now, yes, it was valuable to the company because they were getting the work done, but even on these bite-sized projects, they were getting insights into the students' skills. We've seen it with development projects. Again, not giving access to the core code base, but let's have them do UX testing. Even with HR, we're seeing this. Again, companies are having students do things like vendor research or job description reviews. In all of these cases, hiring managers appreciate the immediate support, while at the same time, from a recruiting perspective, it gets you insights into their skills. Because the assessment, it's built right into the process. When the students are applying for your micro internships, you're getting insights on things like, are they a self-starter? Do they have genuine interest in your organization? Along the way, as they're completing these projects, even though you're not doing hand-holding or managing or anything else, you're able to see how do they communicate with you? Are they sending professional emails? Or are they sending you notes like they were sending to their buddy? Are they turning in the work on time? And from the deliverable, and I'll show you a couple examples as we go through, you can pretty quickly tease out who has the right skills and interest versus those that might not yet be ready. Now, one of the questions always is, why do students do this? It's obviously incredibly valuable for employers, and it goes back to how students want to be recruited. 95% of college students said the best way to recruit them is through these types of experiences. It is how they want to learn about companies. It's how they want to demonstrate their skills to potential employers. It's how they want to build relationships, and ultimately how they want to be recruited, how they are deciding what is the right fit. Now, for employers, it really plugs anywhere into the system, whether it's around getting on-demand support or having an on-demand pipeline, whether it's about growing your brand and building the relationships with the students or assessing skills or keeping students warm when you're not on campus. This plugs right in. So with that, I'm going to go through 4 very specific examples of how companies are using this. Amy, anything you want to add before we jump into that while I have a sip of coffee?
Sure. I just wanted to say that, and you may have already covered this, Jeffrey, but students who are in that kind of early stage, whether they're freshmen, sophomores, and they're looking for internships, are sometimes at that place where they're like, I don't really have a lot of experience to get a good internship. And I feel like this is a great option. It's sort of like a stepping stone for a student to say, I did a micro internship, a project that I can put on my resume, which will make me more attractive for those longer term internships that they apply for.
Oh my God, I'm so happy you brought that up. And I went back a slide specifically because I glossed over it, but it's really important. 75% of college students said they want to begin career exploration during their first or second year in college. 75%. But when they go to career fair booths and info sessions, what they're hearing from employers typically is that come back when you're a junior, that's when we have summer internships, or a senior for full-time roles. Or, yeah, go visit our website and pull up this data and sign up for the virtual. That's not how the students want to be recruited. It is a lost opportunity for employers. That so much of the recruiting effort is focused on juniors and seniors, when to be blunt, those students have often made up their mind. They know what industry they want to do. They have preconceived notions about, do I want a big company or small company? Do I have to go to California to get an interesting tech role? They don't realize the plethora of opportunities available in Georgia. So I'm really happy you highlighted that, because it's a perfect example of the win-win that we've tried to create, that the students are getting these experiences that are valuable, resumeable, but for employers, it helps them recruit. It gives them early access. It lets them build a relationship, ultimately leading to a competitive advantage. And we'll dig more into that in some of these case studies. So again, I'm going to whiz through these pretty quickly. The first was a global medical device company that was having some struggles. They were trying to find students who were interested, but they didn't have the brand recognition of a massive company. They were specifically hiring for business development roles and looking for students who were studying mechanical engineering. And back to Amy's point, it's a really good example. So while they were looking for all 4 or students across all 4 years, a lot of mechanical engineering students didn't realize there's business development roles with companies or weren't thinking about the medical device space. So students who may be in the middle of their major, again, whether they're sophomore, junior, senior, and realize I don't want to spend the rest of my career in the laboratory, but don't know what other options are out there. These are the students this company was going for. So what they had the students do was go visit this company's website, pull in an example of one of the products that this company sells, and create a 5-page PowerPoint presentation that essentially pitches the product, differentiates it from competitors, highlights benefits, use cases, etc. Now, to be clear, it wasn't because that company needed it done, though it was really interested in the insights from a non-professional on how effectively they were communicating. More importantly, this company was using it as a way to engage those mechanical engineering students, but also to assess their skills, also to get insights in, can Jeff use that info and create sort of a PowerPoint that conveys it? Can he understand what we're doing? Can he empathize with who our customer is? Ultimately, it led to full-time hires for those business development roles. I think they actually came out about 40% ahead of their goal with filling the seats. More interestingly, over 100% of those students remained at the company over a year and a half. 100% when they accepted the full-time role. That compares to a turnover rate that usually happens in business development roles that's north of 80%. One of the students, in fact, got an Employee of the Year award. The hiring managers also thought it was the greatest thing, because HR was going to hiring managers not just with a resume and notes from a phone screen or interview, but with actual work samples of what those students did. It gave those hiring managers insights they weren't getting anywhere else, both upfront, and they used that in the interviews and discussions with those candidates. The second example is including improving sourcing and selection. I think I mentioned I was going to show an example here of how companies use these projects to differentiate. This was a fitness chain that if you or a friend or family member goes, like my wife does, you hear the name all the time. This was a fitness chain that had a very strong public brand, but wasn't getting the volume of applications they wanted because so many of the students thought when they were on campus, the only roles were to be a trainer or work at the front desk at one of the locations. And they were very actively looking to fill HR roles. They also found that it was difficult to screen or assess who had the right fit. So they also had a project that needed to get done. Back to where Amy started the conversation. The HR team itself was looking at improving its onboarding best practices for new hires. So they posted a micro-internship, put it out there. Students applied. I think they ultimately picked 5 to do the project. One of the students they picked was an HR major from a very, very selective school with a 3.9 GPA who looked absolutely perfect on paper. They also decided to pick someone else, someone with a lower GPA who, I can't remember if she was general business major or liberal arts, but her background didn't really scream pick me. But she had some really thought answers to short answer questions. Long story short, those 2 students submitted their work product. It was a 1-page summary along with supporting info. I'm sure you can guess where this story is going to go. The example at the top was the student with that perfect resume and background. As you can probably see here, certainly not presented as well, but there's some typos and grammatical errors and other issues. The student at the bottom was the one that we were more on the fence with, but you can pretty quickly see the difference, and you can see it in a way you can't really see from a resume. Fast forward in the story, that student was selected for a summer internship with the company and ultimately a full-time role. So HR got the project off their plate, again, the evaluation of best practice onboarding, but they also found someone who became that great hire. And in the words of the hiring manager, is someone I probably wouldn't have even interviewed. The third example is especially relevant for this call. How do we deepen relationships with those campuses that we have a relationship? How do we get more out of the relationship with Augusta? Well, this was a leading hospital system that was looking to do just that. They had great relationships on campus, but they were very concerned, again, to Amy's earlier point, how do we get first and second year students to start to think about healthcare, not just allied health, but also recognize other roles, but also to get a competitive advantage versus our peers. Because this is a market where there is a huge shortage of allied health professionals. This organization wanted a competitive advantage. They also wanted to, when they were deepening relationships with the campuses, building the relationships with the clubs beyond sort of writing the sponsorship checks or showing up to the annual events, they wanted to dive in deeper. And they wanted to go beyond the healthcare clubs. Again, ones like marketing and sales and early professionals to get those most interested in career exploration. Fast forward, this is what they did. They posted projects. They were able to see real feedback on how the students performed. Again, you could see north of 98% wind up exceeding expectations. In addition, when they were showing up at this campus, they already had a pool of warm candidates, candidates who were engaged and interested. So when they were on campus hosting an event or something else, let's make sure we invite those students. Again, deepening relationships. And behind the scenes, to Amy's earlier point, this feedback data goes back to the school, it goes back to Amy and her team, so they can make sure they're best supporting you, so they can understand if there are gaps, like maybe our sophomores are underperforming when it comes to communication, so they can better coach and support and learn from it, but also identify specific areas of strength, again, to reinforce, making sure that you're getting students from Augusta that are aligned to your needs. The last example is about data. This is especially timely right now as early career hiring is under attack, as we keep on reading articles suggesting AI is going to replace entry-level roles. First, my opinion is I don't think that's accurate. I think those articles are overstated. I'm happy to talk more. But more importantly, within companies, still means you need to demonstrate the success. This was an organization that was going through it. Not only were they trying to protect their existing program, they were trying to grow it. They also had some very specific corporate goals tied to underrepresented populations, including gender equity and veterans and first gen. What they were able to do is have the data to go back to whether it's the CHRO, head of talent acquisition. In this case, it actually went directly to the CEO to show the impact of their work, show how they were able to move the needle in improving gender equity, as an example. be able to show the cost effectiveness of what they were doing or how they were able to recruit students tied to very specific geographic locations. Ultimately, this works for employers because it can help them every step of the way, whether it's around top of funnel and building that sort of pipeline and awareness, working them through by assessing the skills or getting competitive advantage in hiring. This leads to typically 40 to 80% cost savings per hire. It also leads to better retention. As I alluded to before, 50% first year turnover is the average for those who have recently graduated college. Students who have completed micro-internships, it's less than 2%. And what you're getting is not only the work on the individual projects and getting that done, but access to all of the data, access to all of the insights, access to not just look in the rear view mirror about the effectiveness of a program, but really have that windshield and dashboard in front of you so you can both demonstrate success, but also plan for the future. So what can you do right now? Well, if you haven't yet visited Augusta, what a great opportunity to engage the students and let them know you're out there. These projects are a great way. Maybe you are going or have gone to the school already, being in the class or an info session. This is a great way to keep those students engaged, especially in that period between when you met them the first time and when you're making the hiring decision. You can use this to get insights on their skills, again, beyond what you'll capture from a resume. And for those of you that can't be at Augusta this year, what a great way to still reach those students and at the same time, get small projects off your plate. So that was a lot of talking. Amy, anything I missed or questions you have while we're letting people in the audience ask any questions they have in the chat?
I don't think so, unless, are you planning on going over like how it works from a cost perspective for employers when they want to determine the price of a project and how that works?
So I wasn't planning on hitting that today, but I will touch on it. Yeah. And you can use, you or anyone on the call can use it. The short version is it's simple. So the way it works, and if you go to the QR code that you see or the link, and let me see if I can copy this. Here we go. I'm going to drop it in the chat. If you go here, you'll see we have some project templates. Back to the overarching theme, though, we want this to be super easy for others. So the employer can simply pick from any of the project templates they see or create their own and set a price. All prices are fixed fee, of which 90% goes to the student, and it tends to shake out about 20 to 25 bucks an hour. And again, everything is designed to be simple. So for instance, you need an article written. You don't have time to do it. You can use the link I just shared, click the button and say, I want to post an article. Do you know what? Should we do this live? Let's do it live.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I am now on the Augusta page. As I said, let's say I need a social media content calendar. Let's see if I'm actually signed in. You click this button, social media content calendar. The start date is 10/22. It's due 11/12. Ooh, do you know what? I need someone to start working on this sooner. I need it starting on Friday, and I need it by next Friday. No problem. Here's the description. You can edit it. You can tweak. You might say, 2 posts per day. Again, you can update all of this. You put in your location, city, state, zip. If for some reason you need them on site, you can tell them. But we've seen even pre-COVID, 98% of these projects are remote, which makes it easy for you because you don't have to worry about where they're going to sit or anything else. Again, you might be in Atlanta and want to, and a student from Augusta is originally from Atlanta and wants to come home for the summer for a full-time role. Great opportunity. Or you just have a project you need done. You don't need to be on site. We have estimated number of hours and the price. You might look at this and say, I don't think it's going to take 20 hours. I think it's going to take 15. And you know what? I only want to pay $100. You're going to get a warning saying that doesn't seem like a fair price. We want students to be treated fairly. And this goes back to something Amy said at the beginning, that this is not about free labor, though it is incredibly cost effective. We want all students to have access, not just rich ones. So we don't want a student say, "Ooh, I really want to do it, be valuable experience, but I have to give up my part-time role as a DoorDash driver. I can't afford to do that. I won't be able to eat this month." So again, we want these projects paid fairly. So you might say, "I want the student to receive $270. You're paying $300." Again, 90% goes to the student. Parker Dewey retains 10%, and we're very transparent about that. That covers the cost of having the student on our payroll. So they're our employee or contractor, which means you don't have to W-2 or 1099 or anything else. And by the way, when the project's done, if you worked with Amy and you thought she was amazing and you wanted to hire her, go ahead. We're not a staffing firm or temp firm. There's no additional cost. You might say, "I want 3 students to do this." No problem. You can add any skills. Now, you just want it available for Augusta. I can type. Now only Augusta students will see it, and you can ask whatever questions you want. Again, we have some suggestions, but you can remove this and add whatever question you want and hit post now. That is the entire process. At that point, students apply and you get to pick who you want. You get to see, again, where they go to school, which in this case would just be Augusta. You'll get to see resumes. You'll get to see answers to those short questions. It's up to you. What we found is this gives you insights that, again, you're not going to find anywhere else. It gives you insights because it's not a one-click job application where sort of people just spray and pray, if you will. These students are actually showing interest in your organization. And you're able to see things, again, like, do they have attention to detail? You'd be shocked by some of the answers we see. So while Amy and her team do an amazing job making sure every student's resume is great and there's no typos or grammatical errors and they're putting their best foot forward, we found these short answer questions really tease out the student's skills. That student with a perfect resume but may not have the attention to detail, that comes out, and it comes out earlier in the process. And as I said before, all of that feedback, all of those insights can be seen by Amy and her team so they can best coach and support those students, giving them insights so they can put their best foot forward and be the best employees for you. How was that, Amy?
That was great. Thank you.
Simple. Here, let's see if show you one other thing. And I'll just show you a very real example since we're in here. Here is a project. And again, this is all live. This was a real project I posted tied to lead generation. So again, back to the project details. We want someone to identify 50 companies that use HubSpot. Here's what we want for each. We had 85 students apply in a matter of a couple of days. Again, this is without any marketing, any outreach. In fact, we don't allow colleges or universities to require it. And again, Amy, you can certainly comment on that, but we think that's important that students are proactively raising their hand. They're not doing it because they have to or because it's a check the box. They're doing it because they are authentically interested. They want to do it. They want to put their best foot forward. So Samantha was one of the students who did it. She was selected. Again, looking at the short answer, really thoughtful perspective. She didn't need to write a book, but you can look at this and pretty quickly say, wow, she seems like she really wants to do this. I like her approach. Do you know what? I'm going to pick her. And that's what a member of our team did. In other cases, let's see if we can find one that may not be as good. I'm doing this real time, so I apologize. Yeah, so here's an example of someone that might not be as strong. This isn't a bad answer, but does it show the same level of genuine interest that some of the others showed? And he answered this question with a sentence fragment, not a sentence. Again, these are those little signals that you wouldn't necessarily find from Eric's resume. So again, my suggestion let me go back here. Anyone on this call, visit this page. Here are actual templates you can use. These are just very, very few examples. Or there is a form at the bottom. Let us know what you have in mind. Hey, I'm going to a conference next month. I need someone crunching a list. or I need this article written, or I need someone to create data visualizations in Power BI, or do a UX design for a new app, which are all perfect examples. The other thing we suggest companies do is if you have an entry-level job description, whether it's a website link to it or a PDF, or again, it could be full-time, could be internship, could even just be a couple of bullets. Put it in here. Put it in this box. Our team loves to be challenged. As I was showing you in the slides before, one of the things we do all the time is take those full-time roles or take those goals that companies have and create micro-internships that align. And again, we love to be challenged. We love to be challenged. Pick a project, pick a role that you don't think micro-internship would work. Great. We'll tell you if it doesn't, but with 10 years of data, we're pretty good at crafting some pretty interesting projects that do align. Again, the healthcare space we were talking a bit about before. You're obviously not going to have a nursing student go and draw blood or work with a very expensive piece of X-ray technology as a micro-internship or interact with a patient, but you can have them put together best practices for patient engagement in a cancer ward. That is literally a project one of the healthcare systems did. Again, they were interested in the student's perspective, but they also wanted to assess some of those non-technical medical skills. Additional questions? I guess I did okay, Amy.
I think you might have covered everything then. Doesn't seem like there's any questions. Also, I think if you're still here, you can certainly pop a question in the chat too. We'll see that.
Please don't be bashful. Again, that's always is hopefully it comes across from this session. One, I'm pretty passionate about what we do and creating these pathways and creating them in a way that benefits not just the student, in Augusta, but the student, Augusta, and you as a busy professional. So we're very, very passionate about doing that. And then also, we're happy to answer questions along the way, whether it's using the form that I was showing before, whether it's sending an email to me or anyone on my team. We love doing this stuff. It's really important. It's really important right now. And again, complementing the work that Amy and her incredible team are doing to help the students land great jobs and do so in a way that employers sort of continue to value the relationship with Augusta and sort of see the value that their students bring to the table immediately. So unless there's no other questions, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and let Amy close us out.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate your time. As Jeffrey said, there's ways to ask questions and to contact the Parker Dewey team. And of course, for me as well. I looked at the list of participants. You all should know how to reach me. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
And then I also dropped in an email address dedicated to Augusta that goes to folks on the team. And we'll be happy to help however we can. Amy, thank you so much. It's such an honor collaborating with you and your colleagues. You've built just such an incredible program. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really, really excited about that.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here today.
Have a great rest of the week, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.